good, pretty good. I'm doing good. How are you? Thanks so much for having me on again.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's great to see you again. Thanks for taking a minute out. Are you in New York?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure for context. Cool. Well, I'm still in Kansas City, so it's good to catch up with you about what's been going on. When was the last time we talked? Everything's kind of blended into one.
I know it's crazy. I think it was like spring or summer of 2022. So like yeah, about 2 years ago.
Okay, yeah, you got a great memory. April 18th was when I put it out, so of 2022.
Oh
So,
yeah.
with that being kind of the contextual backdrop here, you know, that was around when the pandemic was still undulating back and forth. We weren't
Yeah.
really out, it kept coming back and forth. So, fully in this quote unquote post-pandemic era, before we get into the latest album, World Traveler, how did you make it through? How did you survive? How's everything going now with live shows and new material?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, I guess it definitely changed a lot of things for me. There were definitely a lot of silver linings as well as things that were very difficult, of course. So I'd say for me, it did give me a lot of time initially to really kind of work on sort of like my recording chops and also just write a lot of music as well as musicians. Everybody was going through a lot of stuff, so it also just gave me material. I mean, I guess that's one good thing about, as an artist going through any kind of like difficult times, you can at least channel it, into something. So I was able to write a lot of new music as well as just get much better at recording. And still to this day, actually, I'm doing a lot more writing for like television, film, and production music stuff than I used to. That really helped kind of get me through it. I mean, it was crazy not having a lot of work and just having everything stop for about 2 years. Um, you know, I will say at this point, things are definitely like back up and running, and I'm playing, 3, 4 times a week, and just there's a lot going on now, which good, and I'm really thankful for. But definitely had an impact on kind of the trajectory of my career in some way, in some good ways, some not so good ways, but overall, like yeah, I think made it through all right. But yeah, it was definitely a crazy time.
Well, I think it's kind of a double-edged sword when you talk about TV and film. It's not something that's ideal. I think it's not something that people seek out, but you certainly get a wider fan base. You get more ears on what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, when I'm writing a label, I mean, writing, on like a brief for a label that, is going to be using it for like things for like sync music, and or for a specific television show or whatever it is that they're, asking me to write for. You know, there is, kind of it's very specific. There's kind of a smaller box of like, what you can do. But with that being said, it really does help you exercise a certain muscle. Just saying like, oh, I need you to write a soul track, or I need you to write like an '80s pop track. It does really, just having office hours to write and to write many different styles of music, I do feel like really just helped me become a better songwriter and composer in general.
Yeah.
And then when I have something that I really like, I'll take it for one of my passion projects.
Yeah,
So, you know.
absolutely. So, World Traveler, talk to me a little bit about this album. What was kind of the artistic vision and why is it called World Traveler?
Yeah, so I guess that kind of all great question. It kind of all ties in together for this album. So basically, almost every single composition on this song. First of all, it's nine original compositions. Or sorry, on this album, it's nine original compositions and one cover, being the John Prine song "Angel from Montgomery." But almost every single one of the compositions was written while on the road or in some foreign place. Like I think with the exception of maybe one song, I don't think I wrote anything at my house. I mean, with that being said, after the initial inspiration, I had to, sit down and have office hours at my place, to finish them and make it sound, them sound like cohesive, piece of music. But you know, the ideas and at least all the initial kind of inspirations for all these compositions were while on the road, or you know even just sometimes even just or on a vacation, or you know touring or whatever. You know, for instance, Nordic Bossa was written on the side of the road in Finland. While I had just um, been out of town in Europe for 10 days, and my guitar had actually been misplaced by Air France, unfortunately. And then I finally got it back after like 10 days, and I remember it was like literally the day before I was supposed to go back to New York, and I got it back. I was just at this airport hotel in Helsinki, and I was so happy to get my guitar back that I just kind of went down to the side of the road. It wasn't even a particularly like scenic area in Helsinki, but and just kind of wrote this song that was a bossa, you know, and I wrote it in Finland, so I titled it Nordic Bossa. Japanese Garden. That was a working title initially because it was written in a Japanese garden, in Kyoto actually, and then that was kind of the initial inspiration for it, and then I went back to Tokyo and finished it in a different Japanese garden in Tokyo. Before actually a police officer told me that I wasn't allowed to play guitar in the park, but I at that point I had at least finished the majority of the song. Uh, yeah, and then I realized that the working title was actually just a great title for the piece. With Ease was written in New Orleans during Mardi Gras. Leaving LA was written in LA, not surprisingly. Trying to think, but yeah, I mean, literally almost every single one of these compositions was written somewhere around the world. And I also love traveling and do find that, when I travel, I just will write a lot of my best music. It's something about being sort of like immersed in a certain environment, and it's almost like the environment or wherever the location of where I am is almost helping me write the song.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are you hoping the listener gets from this album?
So I'm hoping that this album really kind of evokes sort of different imagery, and also you know a lot of that will be from maybe the places that I've written the album, but some of that will also just be that I do feel like there's first different tracks on this album are just like very specific and kind of you know and that can be kind of open to interpretation, but I just hope it really helps, just makes people just really also, oh yeah, and also kind of gives people love of travel too. I hope that it kind of inspires people to, travel a bit more. And yeah, also, of course, you just want people to enjoy it and for it to bring them some joy and, happiness as a listener.
So how about live shows? How's everything picking up for you? What are you going to do to promote this album? Kind of how does it feel to be back on stage?
Great. I mean, I just had a release show actually at New Blue this past week, and that was really great. That was kind of, the official uh, album release show. And then yeah, just playing a bunch, New York and around the East Coast. And so yeah, just kind of just playing out and about a bunch, both under my own name, but also with a lot of other people,
Yeah.
and sometimes even when I'm playing with other people, we'll play some songs on this album, so yeah, I mean, just kind of trying to make up for lost time now and just, play as much as possible. The album is also, doing fairly well on radio now, so I think that's also helping. Um, it's gotten a few nice write-ups too, but it's also still somewhat in the early stages. It's been out for less than a month now, but it seems like people are enjoying it so far.
Yeah. So what are you seeing as far as like, you know, I know we kind of talked a little bit about this the last time we spoke. A lot of people left big cities, especially New York.
Yeah.
Are you seeing a resurgence? Are you seeing things coming back? How strong do you see the jazz community now?
So I definitely see it coming back for the most part, but I also feel like it is a little bit different. You know, there aren't quite as many clubs, but there are also a lot of new places opening. So I feel like people are still kind of figuring out, like there's just kind of a shift. I mean, there were certain places that I used to play very regularly before the pandemic that I don't play anymore because, well, either they're closed or they're under new management or whatever. But then there are also a lot of new places that I found that, I've been playing. Uh, so yeah, I just feel like there's kind of just been a bit of a shift, and there are a lot of new faces. Some familiar faces have left. So I feel like it is coming back, and it is going. It is in a pretty strong place right now, but it still is going through a bit of a shift.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to pick up this album in the right form and to really support you and to find out about any live shows, anything in your world, where's the best place for them to go?
So they can go to my website, just aleksiglick.com, Aleksi Glick.com, Aleksi. It's spelled in a weird way with a K because my parents, thought K's were master letters. They're hippies, so,
Yeah.
but, and, also, my Bandcamp, you can order it. It's both vinyl and, CD, as well as, it's obviously on Spotify, Apple Music, and they can purchase it on iTunes and, all those other formats, DSPs too, like Tidal or Amazon or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can also go to pinchrecords.com, the label that put out the album. Also, you can purchase it directly from them, which is Pinch, and they're doing a lot of really cool things. I would definitely advise it, anyone listening out there to really check out their roster, because it does seem like they're some of the people that are really helping to revive the jazz scene. Along with some other labels in New York that have jazz labels that have in New York that have sprouted up, like La Reserve. Rope-a-dope is obviously still out there doing their thing, and then some of the bigger players, too, like Blue Note or Mac Avenue, or so. But yeah, those are a few places. Of course, people can also always just message me directly on social media, and I'm happy to, send you one as well. But those are a bunch of different places where you can kind of pick up the album.
I like it, man. Aleksi, it's great to catch up with you. We finally get to see each other this time on the Zoom.
Yeah, I know, man. It's so great to see you and catch up with you too, Joe. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to having you on the show. And until next time, keep doing the good work, my friend.
Cool. Thanks so much, buddy. Take care.
Take care.
Be
Bye-bye.
well.